I knew this was the Excalibur of the cinema age.
Alex here, back in the basement. I wanted to share with you guys my favorite Graflex. You have any ideas, any guesses of what my actual favorite Graflex is? My own personal Graflex, the one that I keep on display? Any guesses as to what it is? Everybody knows me as a huge Empire Strikes Back guy, so it's got to be the ESB version, right? Nope. So if it's not the ESB version, it should be the New Hope version, right? Nope. So if it's not the ESB or the New Hope, oh, the motorized stunt from A New Hope, right? Nope. So if it's not ESB, if it's not A New Hope, it's got to be the sequel trilogy. Nope. Though I think the Force Awakens Graflex is really pretty, it's still not my overall favorite that I keep on display here in the basement. So what is it? I'll show you. So this is my favorite version of the Graflex. No, I'm not trolling you. I'm being 100% truthful here. This is my favorite version because of the story behind it and how it was discovered. So if you stick around, I'll share with you that story. As George Lucas tasked Roger Christensen to go out and find Excalibur. He wanted an elegant, beautiful looking weapon. And Roger found the Graflex camera flashes. You hear Roger in many interviews refer to the Graflex as Excalibur. So keep that in mind. Keep Excalibur in mind when I continue the story. So in 2018, this documentary comes out on YouTube about L Street Studios. In the documentary, this man, Andy Mitchell, goes into great detail about how his father was the manager of L Street Studios during the time of Star Wars, and how he got to walk on the sets and talk with the crew and eat dinner with the stars. I mean, it's a great documentary. You got to go check it out. I'll have a link in the description below. Andy was a little boy at the time, and he was Star Wars hyped like every other kid at that time. So Andy's dad was the manager of L Street Studios. When production wrapped, just like any other movie, they take the sets, they destroy them, and throw them in the back lot of L Street Studios. Andy, being the little boy he was, he got to play on the Death Star and parts of the Cantina and climb all over the Millennium Falcon and X-Wings and land speeders. And I mean, what an experience, right? Just like any other day, Andy and his dad are touring the back lot, and Andy describes he sees this flickering light sticking out of the mud. So when he reached over, he pulled the handle out of the mud, and he pulled out this Graflex. So the reason why this Graflex is my favorite is George Lucas tasked Roger to find Excalibur, and how much closer to the real thing can you get when this little boy pulls a lightsaber out of the mud? I mean, how much more prophecy fulfilling can you get? It's perfect. So after Andy pulled it out of the mud, he knew right away what it was. And he asked his father if he could keep it, and his father figured production's over, they threw it away, this is all trash, it's going to get thrown away anyway. Yeah, you can keep it. So he kept it on display in his bedroom. So Andy owned the Graflex for quite a few years. Time went on, Star Wars was a thing of the past, and it just sat on the shelf collecting dust. And it wasn't until his friend's 18th birthday where he ended up gifting the Graflex to his buddy for his 18th birthday. One hell of a birthday gift. So this is my tribute to Andy's Graflex. You can see it's gone through a beating. So what I used to make this tribute saber was KR's Graflex. KR did a batch of Graflexes a while ago, and he wasn't happy with the finish on them, and he was selling them dirt cheap. So when I saw that price tag, I said, that's it, that's what I'm going to use. So I grabbed one of his Graflexes. I made a quick little video of how I weathered this thing by throwing it down my driveway. Yeah, I got a couple thumbs down on that. They didn't like that video. Anyway, so I weathered it up, threw it down the driveway. As you can see on the real prop, for some reason it lost a lot of its plating on the top and bottom. the the you can still see remnants of all the super glue left on it, like the real prop. And I did my best to try and get the glue stripes in the exact locations. Um, the bubble strip is one off of eBay that was really thick. I made this replica back when Cal launched his Graflexes, so it was quite a long time ago. I don't think it was 2018 when I made this, but I made this quite a long time ago. And we didn't have the new thick Wanawanga bubble strip. So there's a resin bubble strip on eBay that's thick. And I bought that, and I was able to chamfer the edges and crack and chip the top like the real prop is cracked and chipped. I have Roman's Fulmer glass eye here, which I should weather up, but I haven't done that yet. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but the real prop is pretty beat up and destroyed. And then I have a vintage single knurled Fulmer red button. And that's all real weathering on it. I never weathered that up. I bought it like that. The top is a real washer with rust. I mix up a formula, soak it in that, and then leave it outside, and it rusts real quick. And then I braze welded the inside. And then I took a hammer and dented the top, rubber mallet and dented the top. And I'm pretty proud of these two creases here. I tried to match those two creases perfectly. Again, this was made so long ago that Roy didn't have his double rivet D-rings out, so I made this from scratch. It's a 101 D-ring, but I bent up some sheet metal and riveted it in there myself before Roy announced his double rivet D-ring. I also put it in my vise and pinched it to try and give it that egg shape that the bottom of the can has now. Used some heat scoring up here and some airbrush. I airbrushed the inside, and I simulated some rust here on the clamp, and everywhere in the photos I tried to simulate that rust. And then I finished it off with some special clear to make it look grimy and gritty. I don't know if you can see that on screen. When the documentary first aired, I actually reached out to Andy Mitchell to get more pictures before Prop Store released theirs. I didn't know Prop Store at the time already had photos of it and planned on listing it. So Andy was all excited, and he shared with me some photos. He actually got the photos from his friend. He had his friend take the photos, who emailed them to Andy, and then Andy emailed them to me. And Andy was telling me, he goes, "You won't believe how many messages I got over this old thing." So he couldn't believe how popular it was. So what is this? What exactly is this? We still don't know today. Roger Christensen's stories tend to change every interview, but he claims originally, his earliest interviews, he claims that he made two. And he sent one to Tunisia, and he sent one to the Special Effects Department, John Steer's Special Effects Department. So the theory goes is that this was sent to Steers. They didn't like the idea of how it's in two pieces and kind of sloppy, and they ended up dressing up a pipe in Graflex stuff and using the pipe as the special effects saber instead of this one. And this was probably just thrown away in a garbage can somewhere on L Street set, and then when they started cleaning out the set, they threw it into the pile of trash with everything else. They probably didn't even realize they threw it away. It was probably in a box or garbage bin or something. And it just ended up in a pile, and Andy, being the little boy he was, found it and pulled it out of the mud. So that's the theory as of right now. So the Graflex is featured on the Prop Star auction and sold. The new owner, he has to hold the record for the most screen-used Star Wars props in history. His house is filled with them. He even owns the freaking Death Star. Anyway, he ends up doing these tours of his house and showing his props and giving the stories and history behind each one, how he obtained it or what he traded for it. It was actually a really, really cool series. I wish somebody would actually sit down and professionally film and interview this guy on everything that he owns, because it's unbelievable what he has. So he gets to the room where he keeps his Graflex, and he starts talking about the Graflex. And what I love is he's got his bare hands, and he just picks it right up and he starts showing it on the camera. And at first you're like cringing, like, oh my God, he's touching it. But then you gotta realize it's his. He owns it. He's like, this is mine. So he ended up talking about the prop and how he ended up putting some 3D printed grips on it. And he attached them with 2-way tape in between where the super glue is, so the super glue wasn't affected, and how it could be removed very easily by pulling it off with the 2-way tape. So after that night, I reached out to him right away, and I was like, oh my god, I'm doing a tribute saber to this thing. Is there any way you could give me any more info on the grips you used? So he gave me the source of his grips. So I ordered up a set of grips, and sure enough, when they came, they're printed exactly the same, because you can see the same exact print lines on the track. So I'm going to go over to the workbench and throw the grips on. This is the first time I'll be attaching the grips, and I've had these for a very long time. So let's go throw them on. Alright, so I just put the grips on, and I saved the video and was hoping to put it on my YouTube channel. So I asked Gus permission first, because it is inside his house. Granted, the only part I would show is this on the shelf, and all you really see is a close-up of this on the shelf. But rightfully, it was on Facebook Live, and I asked him permission to host it on my YouTube channel, and he kinda, he didn't say yes, he didn't say no, and then about 6 months later I reached out to him and he never replied, so I'm just gonna respect his privacy and I'm not gonna show the video, but I would love to be able to host the video on my channel. It's only like maybe a minute and a half long, but it's just really cool what he has to say about it. But through that video, I've matched the orientation of the print lines. The 1, 2, 3, and 4. The other 3 you don't see. But so I'm just taking a guess at the other 3 behind. But got the track on there, just like how he has it with the 2-way tape. This is my favorite version of the Graflex. I mean, how much more prophecy fulfilling can you get with little Andy Mitchell pulling this out of the mud? And I like it a lot. This is by far my favorite one. So that is my favorite Graflex. So that wraps it up. I wanted to dedicate this video to the original Excalibur, and I want to personally thank Andy Mitchell for giving me all that information way back when. It was a couple years ago now. And I also want to thank Gus, the owner of the Graflex today, for helping me track down the same exact track he bought. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope this was informative, and I look forward to the next one. This is HalloX, out.